Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Yes, sir. Reading you loud and clear. Clear. The clock has started.
The clock has started.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
You are now tuned in to this week's episode of our podcast. Today we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. By sharing our collective expertise, we will show you how to harness, control, and use your own skill set to achieve ultimate success and live the life you want. And now, please welcome your host.
Welcome to this week's Small Gas Podcast. This podcast is designed for small government contractors, service providers, and manufacturers as part of the government contractor ecosystem, connecting people, organizations, and resources. I'm your host, JustNate, and this week we have something a little different. We are actually bringing somebody in not only out of state, but out of country. We have the co-founder and vice president of experiential learning from Riipen, Mr. Dave Savory. Welcome, Dave.
Hey, Nate. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Well, cool. So first of all, what's the weather like?
I'm sitting in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. It is, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit. It's probably 10 degrees Celsius. So I don't know, 40 or so. Overcast.
That's not too bad.
Going to be sunny this weekend, and yeah, lots of snow in the mountains.
Okay. So we probably get around the same weather. So just.
Yeah, Vancouver's
you probably get cold.
Seattle weather. It gets rainy in the city, but then once you get out of the city, up in the mountains, it's snow.
Okay. Well, Dave, so we got introduced. I don't remember how we got introduced. I think Dennis reached out. We were looking for people, part of colleges for internships and kind of like incubators type things. So I think we had found Riipen that way. So why don't you tell us what Riipen is? And honestly, I want to hear the story. I hear you guys have a great story about how you co-founded Riipen. So I'd love to hear all about it. So I'll let you take it over. Tell us what Riipen is first, and then I want to get into the story about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Riipen, we're, just to give you a sense of where we are in our journey, Riipen, we're just over 8 years old as an organization. We have a team of about 100 people now in the US and Canada, very mission driven, very focused on working with academic and industry partners who want to create authentic work integrated learning opportunities for students and for learners. And so Riipen itself, we're a platform that is really focused on removing barriers to creating more inclusive, more accessible work-based learning collaborations between learners and businesses. So we have about 100, we've now surpassed 120,000 students in the US and Canada who've connected to primarily small and medium businesses on projects that they're doing as part of their curriculum. So the whole idea is, instead of doing projects on a case or something theoretical for your courses that you're taking in college, why not actually connect to real world businesses and work on projects that are keeping business owners up at night for course credit. So we're working with about 400 higher education institutions, colleges, universities, all types of different programs, engineering, business, data science, technology. And from those programs, we have about 7,000 professors, educators who teach courses who are using our system every semester to basically promote their course and connect to businesses. So the product, it's free for businesses. We have over 20,000 businesses now who are on the platform and posting projects. So you can go to app.riipen.com and actually see what types of projects businesses are posting, what types of courses are available. And basically the whole idea is to help make it really easy to connect the two parties to create those experiences for the learners.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So just to break it down, it's really a university will contact you guys, right? Saying, hey, we've got a MBA program, right? MBA class that's looking for a project as part of their maybe capstone course or something like that. And then a company would go on and you can search specifically for like MBA students, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we're academic driven. So we partner. That's how we kind of stay in business, and our revenue model is through licenses with academic programs who want to be really driving and growing these types of real
Okay.
world opportunities. And so it all kind of starts with the academic programs. They go on and basically post exactly what you just described. Like, hey, I'm teaching a MBA consulting course. We're looking for 20 projects from industry from September to December. They kind of put all the information around the types of skills, the types of projects they're looking for, the timeline, the expected deliverables, the commitments that an industry partner might have to understand and kind of agree to support it. And then basically they put that into our marketplace, kind of like Airbnb, where you're posting a rental unit, and essentially on the other side, businesses can sign up and actually use our templates to post projects and then customize projects in a way that are designed to be embedded into those programs.
Okay, so it's kind of starts. It sounds like it starts with the university reaching out to you.
Yeah, so well, the universities use our platform, so you can go on there's a marketplace element to it that you don't need an account or anything to go in and see the ecosystem. So you can go in and search for very specific subject matters or categories like IT, digital marketing, SEO, branding, whatever it may be, and you can, as a business owner, you can find academic programs who have opportunities that are accepting kind of applications. And the whole idea is once their course is in the marketplace and a company posts their projects, we're trying to help make it easy to connect. And what's really cool is we're seeing companies in certain parts of the country doing collaborations with students on the other side of the country and working on these remote projects, which is really exciting.
Sure, and full disclosure, we signed up for multiple projects. I've
Oh, nice.
signed up under the smalls for the nonprofit work, right? It's always looks good to have some nonprofit work on your resume. Hint, hint,
Amazing.
those people out there. Uh, and we also signed up for our own business. We do a lot of hiring our heroes here at the company that Dennis and I both work for. We do a lot of internships, and we do a lot of apprenticeship programs as well. We're starting up apprenticeship programs now the same way. So the idea behind this now, you said the business model is essentially the educational institute kind of comes to you guys, right? Is part of your platform, so it's paid for by the education side.
Yep.
Is there any cost at all to the companies that are looking for people to help out, or?
No, it's free to sign up for companies. They can post as many projects as they like. We really recognize we used to actually charge subscription fees to companies, and that was one of our first ways we monetized Riipen as we were building it over the last 7-8 years. But when the pandemic hit in 2020, we recognized the demand on our academic side just went through the roof. And at the time, our revenue was about 50-50 between the academic and industry side. And we really recognized that in order to be able to serve as a social impact company, we're really focused on how do we help learners get these types of opportunities to really help them with building their network, building their skills, building their experience that they can use to leverage to transition into meaningful careers. We really recognize that if projects from industry were a scarce resource, we'd be really limited in our ability to bring on more academic programs. So we started testing a freemium offer, like removing the paywall. We used to have a subscription model for businesses, and it 10-12x the number of employers that were signing up every month, every quarter. And we pretty soon realized that that was the way to go in terms of supporting our academic programs. And so we've made that move permanent. It's not coming back anytime soon. So and it's really improved our ability to match educators with businesses in a more efficient and timely way.
So,
Sorry, what was the other question there? There's one other point I
oh no,
wanted to make.
I was just wondering, do you guys help the matchmaking, or is it just university goes out and looks, says, hey, I got 3 companies to apply for this team that I have here. Now the university interacts with those teams to pick the right one, or do you guys have a hand in that as well, or?
We do, yeah. We have an employer partnerships team as well as a academic kind of account management team that is doing a bit of that kind of manual matchmaking to help support certain programs. The platform itself also has some matchmaking capabilities in terms of kind of keywords around categories and data points around skills that a company's looking for or that an educator is teaching their students. So the platform will also make recommendations and help with kind of matching content from, if I'm a business owner, I post a digital marketing project. Once you're in the app, you will start to see recommendations for digital marketing courses that educators are actively looking for companies to apply to. So it's a bit of a hybrid, but yeah, it's a new and kind of evolving space. So a lot of our partners, and both on the academic and industry side, this is a new way for them to engage versus kind of a traditional job board recruiting, hiring, internship type of model. So there is still a bit of that hybrid matchmaking that we are supporting.
Now, is this a chance where maybe that they could get a job afterwards too? Are most of the learners, are these students in their junior, senior year mostly that are doing these programs, or what does that look like on that side?
It's across the board.
Okay.
We do definitely see typically schools starting with kind of more like third year, fourth year. We work with a lot of master's programs as well, extension programs, kind of continuing education, adult education. So learners who are reskilling or transitioning into a new industry and looking to get experience. But yeah, I mean, the nice thing about the collaboration is when you think of kind of a traditional internship, apprenticeship type of program, like a business is essentially hiring and bringing on a new team member, even though they might be still a student. But in terms of kind of support and managing them and making sure they're effective, it is like bringing on a full-time team member. And really not every business is always able to do that from a capacity and bandwidth standpoint. So there's no requirement for a business to be hiring to engage in projects. Obviously, there's dozens of projects as a small business operator or owner that are happening all the time, and being able to use this as a resource to move some of those projects forward without having the commitment to hire is a really kind of new, flexible, and more kind of inclusive way to be doing those projects. From the student side, anecdotally, that is the whole point, is helping learners be more employable and figure out kind of the career pathway that they want to be going down in order to land one of those full-time type of placements. But our whole goal is when we work with academic leaders is to like figure out how do we get these projects embedded earlier and more frequently into a learner's education journey. So they're not just waiting until their very last semester to get their first kind of element of work, real world work experience. They're actually getting these micro kind of project-based opportunities throughout their journey, and they're stacking these different experiences so they can start to really build up that portfolio that's going to help them either land an opportunity with one of those employers that they did a project with, or leverage that book of experience to land their first job when they graduate.
Well, I think it's a great program. I mean, thinking back in the days when I was in school, I would have loved to had something like this as an opportunity while in college to sign up for something like that. It was back in my day, it was on us because you didn't start this many years ago. You started it 8 years ago. So, yeah, no, I think it's a good idea, especially with 400 different universities and colleges and others that you guys work with. That really gives a wide range of things out there to work on. I would say one of the best things that I like about it is for those people that might have internal projects, but you don't have IRAD funds or something like that, or whatever that may be. And IRAD's, for those of you guys that don't know out there, that's internal research and development. So let's say, I don't know, let's say you need your web page updated. One of the things I've looked out on your guys' website was I just go put a project out there that, hey, I'm looking for somebody to update my resume, or sorry, my website. And I'm looking for 3 or 4 people to help manage it. Here's the languages that we're currently using. And that's kind of how I would say this is my project, right? Here's what I'm looking for. As a small business or nonprofit or whatever I am, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a marketing team to help me move into a new market or market for the very first time. I'm a startup. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. Who better to do that than people who are learning about that right now, especially if it's their senior year, senior project capstone, whatever you want to call it. It's great for both parties, I think.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Very, thank you for that. That's, I'm biased, but I couldn't agree more.
So let's see. I want to. Are these basically like office type jobs, or do you guys also get into the engineering side of things, for example, or technicians, or like I need somebody to help me design something, using AutoCAD or something? Is it all inclusive, or is it focused more on business side?
Yeah, I mean, as a startup, small business 6, 7 years ago, and still now to this day, like we've always had to figure out. Obviously, an idea and a solution like this has lots of different channels it can be applied to, but we really needed to focus on areas that we were seeing the most traction. So our natural early adopters are our business and technology programs. So business schools often have case competitions. They're kind of familiar with that capstone model. So a lot of business schools were either already doing this and needed a better way to manage it, and that's really where our product comes in, and or needed a way to grow it and scale it by connecting with employers outside of their own backyard. And so we have a lot, like business school is definitely one of our kind of deepest areas. So within business schools, marketing, strategy, competitive analysis, operations, HR, recruitment, talent is a big issue for a lot of businesses these days. So working on projects and kind of research and innovation around how to improve talent and recruitment efforts for a business. So that's kind of where we started. It's evolved quickly into technology. Data analytics is probably our fastest growing area. So if I'm a small business owner and I have a lot of data on customers or website data or whatever it may be, but I don't necessarily have the time or bandwidth or in-house capabilities to analyze it or visualize it or make kind of references from it and decisions from it. Like, hey, why not work with a team of students doing their master's or their undergraduate in data analytics guided through their faculty member, where they can actually work with your real data and help you kind of navigate that. It is expanding into engineering. That is definitely a new growth area. We're also seeing a lot of expansion into kind of the design world, communications, grant proposal writing, market research. How do you get these experiences into some of the other disciplines on campus that historically haven't had as many of these types of programs in arts and humanities, social sciences, where students have a lot of research, writing, communication, analytical skills. So how do you create an experience for them that's also able to help a business as well?
What about mass communications? Have you guys done anything in mass communications, like what we're doing right now, right?
Yep.
How to help set somebody up a podcast? First off, how do you do that? How do you set up a YouTube channel, and that's actually going to do something instead of just have your mom, brother, and sister as followers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're starting to work with a lot of media programs. So Florida International University, University of Florida, the Gators, they have a few really interesting media programs that are using us. I mean, the trick with the projects is always it's kind of a balance, right? Because if you're a business and you need like someone to just do a lot of kind of execution type of work to get your podcast produced like tomorrow, you might not want to use an in-class project on Riipen for that, just
Sure.
because it's a little bit, that's not really, they're still students, they're doing these projects for course
Sure.
credit. You might want to
Learning
hire,
and
yeah, exactly. And you might want to hire a kind of a freelancer to help you actually get that urgent stuff done. But if you're looking at ways to expand your audience or new channels or new ways that you can be growing your digital marketing efforts, for example, a project working with a course and a program that is literally learning the latest and greatest in those areas is a great way to connect with a team of students and have 5 or 6 students in that program learn your business, learn your space, learn what your competitors are doing, learn what you're doing today, and then based on all of that, come up and make recommendations on things you could be doing to drive certain metrics.
okay, well, very cool. So, do you guys offer tools as well as part of this? For example, let's say somebody wanted to learn how to do agile software development.
Yeah.
Do you guys offer a tool as part of Riipen, or do the students come up with those ideas of, hey, let's use this product or whatever for trying to help you out, or how does that work?
Yeah. So like in terms of kind of like, yeah, not Not directly. I mean, the benefit of these programs is that the educators, they're literally teaching these in courses, right? So the
So,
educators themselves are typically experts in the fields that they're teaching, and so they're kind of
yep.
guiding the students on best practices, and often those are project like nowadays there's dozens of tools for every little thing. So for a small business owner, sometimes identifying what does that landscape look like and how are they all different and what is the best one for me, that could be a project in its own. Is like just do
Yeah.
a landscape of all the different solutions out there. That could be my CRM, or that could be my kind of digital marketing management tool, right? So we don't actually like say, hey, you should use this, you should use that. These are the offerings. There's lots of other ways to go about it. Does that answer your question?
No, it does. I just didn't know if Riipen itself had like tools within Riipen that they that they can use to help out. And after break, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. I'm curious. There's a couple questions I want to ask you about kind of tools as well. So, um, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. And I want to hear about the story. Okay, be right back.
Sounds good.
This podcast is brought to you by CHAFA, the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. Since 1974, CHAFA has strengthened Colorado by investing in community development and affordable housing. CHAFA's community development team partners with lenders across the state to offer the financing you need to grow your business. Talk to your local lender about CHAFA's Cash Collateral Support Program, which helps small and medium-sized businesses access capital that would otherwise be unavailable due to collateral shortfalls. To learn more, visit chfainfo.com. Welcome back to this week's Small Skies podcast. This week, I have something very exciting. We are here with Dave Savory. He is the vice president and co-founder of Riipen, a base. Where are you guys based out of? Sorry, Dave. What town are you guys based out of?
I'm personally based in Vancouver, British Columbia, but we're
Okay.
a remote team. We have people all over North America.
So let's just say they're based out of Canada. Does that sound okay?
Sure, yeah.
So sounds good. And by the way, everybody thinks that I'm from Canada too. They make fun of me. They're always say you're from Southern Canada. I'm actually from North Dakota. So they're like,
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
you're from, that's just Southern Canada. Eh? I'm like, no, it's not, but it's the same. So it's all good. I've been there many times up in Canada. So.
The University of North Dakota is one of our best academic partners.
Yeah,
it's
it's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
UND and NDSU, they're amazing, both amazing universities.
Absolutely.
Competition is strong up there too. So okay, Dave, I want to know about the story. How did you come up with Riipen? Tell me the story. Was it on a napkin? Was it at the bar? Was it in college? What's the story?
Yeah, great question. I don't know how much time we have, so I'll give the cliff notes. But no, I mean, Riipen really came out of our undergraduate program. We were in a business program, myself, Dana, and Jordan, our CTO, and Dana, our CEO. And essentially, we were in a program. Dana and I were in a business program that had work integrated learning embedded into it. So we basically had to go do, they call it co-op, but we had to go do an internship as a student for 8 months. And it was mandatory. Everyone had to do it as a requirement for the program. And we still felt at the end of that experience like we weren't quite prepared to transition into the workforce. And student thinking like as students in a program that actually had that built into it, still not feeling that we were adequately ready to transition into the workforce, we started looking at how could we have increased our chances or our probability, our career preparedness throughout our degree more. And we kept coming back to projects. We had to do dozens of projects in our program, mandatory for course credit, where we got thrown into groups, and the projects were 50 or 60% of the whole grade of the course. And you work hard on them. You demonstrate a lot of real world skills that employers are very interested in being able to assess. Teamwork, communication, collaboration, leadership. And we did produce kind of like valuable types of insights and research and recommendations, but it was kind of trapped in the academic bubble. once you got your grade, that project never went anywhere. And we just felt that that was really a missed opportunity for connecting with industry, whether that's small business, charities, nonprofits, startups, large enterprises. The projects we were doing were real world, like they could be applicable to industry partners. So we started talking to hundreds of professors across North America and just asking them like, hey, why isn't more of this happening? This was back in 2012. The landscape and the environment is changing significantly, which is very encouraging and exciting to see. But the number one reason educators who were passionate about this space, who said why they weren't doing it, was just they didn't have the capacity and the bandwidth to go out and find companies, build relationships, scope out projects every semester they were teaching their course. And similarly, when we were talking to businesses, they love the idea of more flexible, kind of customizable ways to collaborate with emerging talent on projects that are relevant, that are keeping them up at night. But they didn't know how to connect to a media program or digital marketing program or data analytics course unless they had a personal connection with a professor. How do you connect to that? They knew where to go if they wanted to hire a graduate as a full-time role, but how do you go and do kind of a more shorter term, flexible type of project? And so that was kind of our light bulb moment. If we could figure out a way to remove barriers in connecting the industry and the academic community in that sense, how much more of an impact would learners in those programs have in terms of getting the ability? It's almost like killing two birds with one stone, where they're doing these projects for course credit, but now they're also building their network, they're building up a portfolio of experience, they're actually applying the learning in the class to a real world situation, so it's a lot more engaging, and they're really developing kind of skills in real time that they can leverage for their career paths.
Very cool. Yeah. So you were still in school when you guys actually started doing this, or how does that work? I mean,
yeah, we were in an entrepreneurship specialization. So basically, it's the last semester of our program, the 4-year program. And it was one of kind of 3 or 4 tracks. There was like accounting, international business, entrepreneurship. And we all, myself and Dana and a few others, chose entrepreneurship because basically you come up with a business idea at the start of the semester, you form a group, and you go through kind of the discovery and planning and early stage planning of putting together what the problem is, what the solution is, what the potential business model is. And then at the end of the semester, instead of writing an exam, you actually pitch to a panel, kind of like a Shark Tank experience. And that's what you got your grade on. So it's kind of a unique way to do our last semester of our degree. And that's where it really came out of. That was the idea. Like, how do you help students get more hands-on experience throughout their education? And we actually won a young entrepreneurship competition. We won a $10,000 grant, which at the time we thought was a ton of money to launch a business, but didn't last.
College, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really kind of gave us the incentive and the confidence to take it out of the classroom once we graduated and really start to build our early foundations and go out and really start to launch the product.
Nice. So I'm guessing you guys got an A in this class when you guys presented Riipen?
I think we did. Yeah, it's been a while.
I was gonna say it'd be better if you guys flunked the class, and then now you can go back to your professor and say, "Hey, look, we told you this is a great idea. Look where we are today."
Yeah,
I'm sure that it's not without blood, sweat, and tears though either.
No, it's been a journey. I mean, we've we had to. I mean, graduating school, coming out of university, we all kind of had part-time jobs for a while to kind of pay the bills, and then after a while, we recognized like it was time to go full time, so a few of us quit our jobs. We lost a couple other partners who were just like, this isn't the right fit for me, and which is totally fair. So we quit our jobs, and we actually were very, like Dana and I are very kind of partnership, business development focused, leadership focused, and we were getting there was no shortage of people who are interested in talking with us and having meetings with us, because it's something that resonates with almost everyone. You talk to a parent, it resonates about their kids. You talk to a student, it resonates about kind of how they're going to get at their first job. You talk to a business owner and they're always worried about finding the right talent for their business.
Yeah.
You talk to anyone who was in school, like you said at the start of the call, like I wish that was around when I was in college or in school. So we were really good at being able to get people aware. Like it's something that kind of touched a button, and throughout the process of talking to literally thousands of educators, deans, CEOs, business owners, students, investors, not one person said it was a bad idea. So that kind of gave us but everyone kind of had a slightly different interpretation of how to solve the problem. So we actually leveraged kind of incubators and accelerator programs. We were actually in about
Nice.
12 or 13 of them across North
Oh, wow.
America in a 5-year period. So one day, maybe when we have some more time, we'll write a book about the experience of each of them
I,
and the pros and cons of how you can leverage them. But when we did finally decide to quit our jobs and go full time in March 2015, we got into a program in Toronto. So we moved across the country, Vancouver to Toronto, lived in a little basement suite, and we're eating kind of craft dinner, that old kind of startup stereotype, and really kind of used the program to connect with some mentors and some people in the education space to help us get our first few clients in terms of pilots. And that really launched us down the path of building out the academic revenue stream. And that
okay.
led us to an accelerator program in New York City, Edge, which no longer exists, but it was an education technology accelerator program, which really helped us meet a whole new group of mentors
Yeah.
and advisors and clients. And following that, we were in Boston and then back to Vancouver. So it has been a long journey. And if we had more time, maybe one day over a beer, we can go a bit deeper.
Hey, most definitely. Sign me up. I want to read your book. I want to be the first. As a matter of fact, I want to see it before it goes out. I can help you out, do something. I don't know. Count the pages or something. But no, I love accelerators and I love that story. I'm all about stories. I love the story aspect of things. How you get to from point A to point B was one of your hardest issues as a small business to get that first, to figure out the business model, right? Because you mentioned you talked to hundreds and hundreds of professors and they all thought it was a great idea. Students thought it was a great idea because the money's not coming out of their pocket, right? That's what for me, it always boils down to starting a new business is who's my customer base? How am I going to sell this? Yeah. The professors, obviously they're going to love it, but the professor doesn't have a budget to make this happen usually, right?
Yeah.
Or probably at most universities. So you now have to engage with a whole different aspect at university, and that's the academia side and the management side. And is that kind of what the accelerators kind of helped you out with then?
Yeah, they definitely helped us like formulate kind of what a potential revenue stream could be. I mean, at the time we did have a couple different ideas on monetizing the industry, and everyone kind of had a different idea and recommendations on how to build the first business models, whether it's the industry side, whether it's the students paying, whether it's the schools paying. And I mean, ultimately, we we really learned, okay, where is the biggest pain point in terms of kind of and solutions, and what types of people in the university are thinking about employability and thinking about career development, thinking about students who are, and as the landscape, everyone's heard of the skills gap that gets talked about all the time. As that started to really accelerate over the last few years, schools are really investing in these solutions, and there's lots of different ways to do it. Riipen's not the only way, for sure, but once we started connecting with leaders and kind of early adopters who were trying to solve these issues at the institution level, we built strong relationships. And as a early stage startup at the time, it's not like we could show our 20 years of experience of doing this in the market as a way to get our first partners. We had to really build trust, build relationships, and almost like finding an angel investor, like they're investing in you and the team, and the confidence that they're believing in you to solve that problem, and really involve them in that early product development in terms of using their feedback and their ideas to incorporate that into the solution really helped us build strong partnerships. And that still lives in us today, or even 8 years later.
And I would say that would probably be key. I think that's where the golden nugget lies, is getting them to help, right? Not just say, hey, I got a problem, fix it for me. But you got to find that one or two that are saying, hey, I got a problem, I want to help solve this. And I'll be your advocate. I'll be your, what I would call a product owner, right? Of saying, okay, so I need something to do this. Bounce ideas off me, right? And then I'll take it back to my people and we'll figure out, hey, is this going to work for us or not work for us or whatever. So I really like that. Talk me through, well, before we get off the story, because I like the story, Riipen. I would have not have spelled Riipen that way. So explain the word Riipen to me. And it's for those viewers out there, it's RIIPEN, correct?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so explain Riipen. What does it mean? Where'd that come from? I mean, is this a fruit thing? What is it?
Well, so Riipen, solving this problem and coming at it from really the student lens when we were in our business, in our program, when you think of kind of talent who's going to school and investing in their education, and they're trying to become ready for the workforce and ready to be employable. So you are kind of from a metaphorical sense, ripening. And so similarly with businesses, they're growing their workforce, they're investing in talent, they're trying to kind of develop talent. So ripening is really kind of a metaphor for growing and developing and mentorship. And when you're ready for the workforce and you graduate, you're ripe and you're ready to launch your career.
I like it. So very unique. Okay, so what about tools? What tools do you guys use? I'm curious, from your leadership team, management team, what tools do you guys use to manage your business? I mean, I'm assuming you guys are still considered a small business.
Yeah, we definitely are. We're, I think, 90 to 100 full-time employees. So, I mean, we're past that kind of founder 5-10 employee type stage.
Yeah, quite a bit.
We're still definitely, we're still very lean and agile. And I mean, tools we use dozens, probably too many tools. Some people would say we have tool fatigue, but I mean, we're a G Suite. Everything starts kind of with G Suite in terms of Google Docs, Google Sheets,
okay,
calendar, all that stuff, pretty standard. Slack, HubSpot. HubSpot is our go-to CRM, and we've been using it for since the beginning. And HubSpot's actually. Are you familiar with HubSpot?
I am. So just a quick story. Back in the day, a few years ago, before I got the current job that I'm in right now, or my current career, I worked as a full-time business development director for a company. Awesome. But I was working by myself, remote, 3,000 miles away from the rest of the team. I am not a remote person. I hate working from home. I much rather be in person, in office around people. I love BD because I love talking with people, but doing it by yourself, out of your house, is really difficult. And then going through the COVID thing with it, it feels virtually impossible, like an impossible uphill battle. And then on top of it, I went to my leadership and said, hey, what do you guys use for CRM tool, right? Because that's kind of like BD 101 is you need some type of CRM tool. And I got the quintessential small business answer. We use Excel, right? I just use Excel to track everything I'm going after. It's a tool. It works, but it's not a database. It's not an active database. It's not a way to really sift through things real quick. So I went out and looked. I looked at HubSpot. I looked at Salesforce. I looked at lots of other different tools, right, that are out there. The problem I had is I didn't have a budget. So as an engineer, my trade, my undergrad is a double E. I've got software development background. I've got lots of different things, system engineering. So because I do have that technical background, I don't wait around usually. I have a real tough time waiting. So if I go to somebody and say, hey, I need you to buy me Salesforce and it's going to cost X amount per year, before they drop dead and try to think about how much that's going to cost the company, I simply went and built my own.
Right.
So I built my
Nice.
own CRM tool from ground up, and now that CRM tool is being used by multiple different companies. Um, so, and I
Cool.
take that tool with me wherever I go, and gave it to the company that I'm currently at, saying, "Hey, here's what I built. Do you guys want to use this?" And they're like, "You built it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." They're like, "Well, that's not normal for a BD person to do. Just build your own CRM tool." But like I said, I'm not your normal person, I guess, either. So yeah, I built my own. But yeah, I did look into all of them, but out of necessity, right? You have to do something that you can afford, and free is better than paid when you're first starting out and trying to get that sold up.
No, yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we chose HubSpot in 2014 or whenever it was, because it was free for startups. They have a great business
Yeah,
model. They get you in, they get you using it, and then as you start to use it more, and their whole model's based on the number of contacts that you have
yeah,
in the database, and we have now several 100,000 contacts. But it didn't happen overnight. It happened over time. So
yeah,
all of a sudden, you're kind of gradually paying more money every year, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? We're paying this much money
yeah.
for this tool,
Well,
and the switching costs become kind of you don't get trapped, but almost the overhead of switching is you
yeah.
kind of want to keep investing in it, right?
It is, and that's why that's those types of companies' business models, right? I mean, it used to be. I know companies out there for a CRM tool. It was not unheard of for a company, mid to large size company, to have to pay $100,000 a year for their CRM database. That's
Yeah.
it sounds like a lot to me, especially to a startup, right? I mean, no, I don't know a single startup that can afford $100,000 a year for a CRM for one tool.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but when you grow into a billion-dollar organization, it's cost of doing business too, right? I mean, and you have distributed teams, and now that collaboration becomes invaluable. So I really like those types of things. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, G Suite. Why'd you go to G Suite instead of the Microsoft Suite?
I mean, again, like we started this a long time ago. It was free. It was user friendly. I mean, the collab. I haven't used Microsoft as much, obviously, other than just like Word and kind of Excel and stuff,
Yeah,
PowerPoint. But I mean, what I love about G Suite is the collaboration ability to it. You can use it anywhere in terms of where your access to the web, but
yeah,
we have, as you grow teams and bring more people onto the team, and even externally when you're working on stuff with a potential partner you're trying to close a partnership with, the collaboration effort of kind of Google Docs and Google Sheets and Google Excel, having multiple people working in the same document and commenting and collaborating is, at least for us, it's world class, and it's been excellent. So
awesome. Well, Dave, this has been a huge pleasure. I appreciate this. What,
likewise.
and this is not going to be our last conversation. I promise that. Um, how can people get a hold of you guys? What's the
Yeah,
website?
lots of different ways.
Okay.
Riipen.com, RII, two I's, PEN.com. If you're a business, go check out some of the opportunities from our academic partners. There's new ones going up all the
Okay.
time. You can sign up for free, start posting projects, and getting connected to those programs if you're interested. Yeah, I mean, my email is dave@riipen.com. It's pretty simple. So if anyone wants to reach out to me directly, always happy to have a chat. I'm also on LinkedIn as well.
Okay. Well, that sounds awesome. And then Dave, I don't know. We will touch base again later on because there's just a lot to unpack here. But at the same time, I want to make sure I'm being cognizant of your time, and others out there as well. And
Yeah, just one last thing. We just launched a really exciting program for small businesses and entrepreneurs in Arizona with the Small Business Development Center and the Maricopa Community College District. And it's a little bit different than our model. It's actually co-curricular. It's outside of the curriculum, so it's not for credit. And there's stipends. We have a funding partner who's actually funding stipends for small businesses to do. The program's called Arrow, Advancing Entrepreneurs Ready for Opportunities. I can share the website with you after, but essentially, right now it's just for Arizona businesses, but basically businesses can sign up and get a $1,000 stipend to do a project with a supplier.
Well, no, that sounds awesome. Definitely get me that information. We'll get all this information posted on our website at www.thesmalls.org. And we will get all your information out there. We'll put links to all your guys' sites as well on the show notes here. And then also how to get a hold of you as well. So people can get out there, get signed up, get some projects going, and help out both Dave and the academia side and all those students as well. And Dave, been a pleasure. Is there anything else you want to say on the closing side?
No, that's great. Thanks for having me on. Really excited to connect with the audience. And yeah, like I mentioned, if anyone wants to ever have a conversation or a virtual coffee, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Most definitely. Well, we appreciate it. And till next week, this is JustNate signing off.
Thanks for listening.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Smallscast podcast. Connect with us at thesmalls.org. Don't forget to sign up to our newsletter to receive our free materials. See you at the next episode.
See you at the next episode.